Hello, it's Tony from Ding, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Tools, where we look at key theories to guide learning design. In this episode, we're going to be looking at experiential learning. Now, this is a fundamentally important tool in learning design, and the idea that we learn through experience was first proposed over 100 years ago by philosopher John Dewey, and it revolutionised how we think about learning. Because before Dewey came along, formal learning mainly involved like an all-knowledgeable teacher standing at the front, just sort of transmitting their knowledge to a bunch of receptive students who sat at desks frantically taking notes. But then, in 1984, a guy called David Kolb produced his cycle of experiential learning, and this is the thinking tool we're going to look at. So the cycle of experiential learning is a powerful tool that helps us construct learning around 4 distinct stages: experiencing, reflecting, conceptualizing, and testing. And we're going to look at some examples of how we can use this tool to construct a learning experience. So let's say I want my students to learn about coding. The first thing I need to do is create the conditions where they can experience what coding is and how to do it. And this is the experience stage. So I could do this by creating a practical activity where they attempt to produce some basic code, for example. And once they've had an experience of coding and have tried doing it, I want them to review their experience. And this is the reflect stage. And to help them reflect, I might ask them to talk about their experiences with other learners and then with the whole group, or I might ask them to write about it. And the aim of the reflect stage is to create the space for learners to consciously review what happened so they can see what happened for themselves. Then in the third stage, I want them to consider why these things happened. So for example, they might have experienced a particular problem that they couldn't solve, or perhaps they succeeded in creating something but aren't quite sure how they did it. So this is the conceptualization stage, and it's where learners make connections between their own experience and existing knowledge about the topic. And to achieve this, I might ask them to do a short research task, for example, where they investigate some of the concepts and principles that are relevant to the coding task they completed. And this helps learners to situate their experience within a wider context. And then the fourth and final stage involves developing some ideas about what they will do differently next time they're coding. And this is the testing stage. And during this stage, learners develop a list of actions that they could take in their next experience. So for example, based on their research task, they might produce some new coding techniques they could try out. Or it might be that they realise why their code didn't work. And so in this final stage, they could think about things they could try to resolve the problem with their code the next time they try. So by breaking learning down into these 4 distinct stages, we can clearly structure a learning design around them. And this is really important because a large-scale study by researchers in Switzerland found that enabling students to tackle a problem by themselves before receiving any teaching increased their success rate by around 20%, which is a good justification for using experiential learning to guide learning design and for leading with a problem to solve. So just to recap, learning designers can use experiential learning to enable learners to experience a topic before they're taught about it. And this is often a more powerful way to introduce a topic rather than just telling someone about it. We can use discussion activities to help them realise and reflect on what they've learned. Then we can create opportunities for them to find out about the wider context surrounding the activity and to make connections with it. And then lastly, we can ask them to develop a list of things they would do differently next time they have that experience. Okay, that's it. So experiential learning is a fundamental tool in learning design. If you found this useful, hit subscribe, tune into the next episode, and get some more thinking tools in your learning design toolbox.